Anyway, so here we are again. I'm going to start this track over. Had a little technical difficulty. Ran out of space, so had to start the video. I'm not going to start over, but I had to free up some space. Anyway, so basically we had our 4 points, which is the bridge vocals, as well as the guitar solo that serves as the bridge. Then there was Mariama's lead vocals. Then there's the hook itself, which has a haunting sound, which is a combination of the synths. A couple of the voices I used called a gothic vocal and a vocal ensemble off of a keyboard, along with the vocals of myself and her. And then there's just the overall blend of what I call synthomania, Synthomania brother, Hulk Hogan, WrestleMania, Hulkamania. I got Synthomania going on here because it's like 10 different synth sounds, or patches out of a keyboard. Anyway, so that was the 4 points. I started working on the bridge vocals first, and let's go find those. Basically, I forgot. Well, there you're seeing that's my mix that's been recorded already. Let's see if I can kind of jump ahead here. Here we go. Where is this thing? Right here. Where's everything? Scroll up. So there we go. These vocals right here that you're looking at, along, there's 2 in the bottom are me, then you got hers, and you see like the difference in the size. I actually ended up overdubbing these bottom 2 parts to match a note she was doing. I did that here with my own mic in the studio with the preamp from Basic Electronics. Oh shoot, what did I do now? Doggone it. There we go. And you see the difference in like the level of her signal. Anyway, so I worked on making these, what is it, 6? It's like 6 voices. She did some pretty intricate, funky, just some really nice stuff, as well as I did. So it's like trying to blend that, and then here's the guitar solo, and this is the part we're talking about right here. So what I did was, like as far as you can see here, didn't do much of anything as far as EQing. It's more or less about levels, fader levels, panning positions. I did something pretty tricky here. In my opinion. Not tricky, but, unique, I guess. I did like this thing where I panned the lower voices to the right, but I did there's like a 15, 20, 25, 30 type relationship. And then the other side, it's like a 20, a 30, and a 40. So it's 20, 29, and 38. So it's like jumps by 9s for the higher notes. And so I use that as kind of like my panning relationship. I think it turned out well. And then I did a grouping thing again. The main thing I had to keep messing with, again, as I showed you, because I had that difference in the signal from my voice, is I had to do some stuff with these 2 tracks because they were a little too loud. I ended up doing was some automation, some what do you call that stuff? Let's jump ahead. did some, here's a chance to see it too. Watch this. Watch these tracks. See him sliding down? I ain't touching that. My hands are here. So that was drawn in automation to bring those two down. And then they came back up. So it was one of those things where, again, I made a note of where each of these was sitting at when I was mixing them at a higher level. And you see they come back up. When I was mixing them at a higher, see, jump back up. I was mixing them at a higher volume on my monitors, set the relationships, and then again just use the group method of bringing them up and down. And then sometimes I made a couple groups. I made a group that was all the background vocals. I made a group that was just my two notes. I made a group that was that bridge part, so that I could move them as I wanted to. The hook was kind of straightforward because it's not that complex. It's two voices singing the same melody in two different octaves. No harmonies. Basically a unison of octaves. So I did have to do some editing. I had to find the right version where she and I were like right on point with each other, and then I cut and pasted those. That's not even worth talking about. Blending the synths. Basically with that, I knew that was going to be kind of tricky, and it kind of was like the same process like as using overall, where you have to decide what is the main point, or what are the main focal points that you want highlighted in the song. I had to basically say, okay, which of these voices do I really want to be featured? Because it's just hard. I mean, I'm not at a level. Somebody probably could mix this and have every one of them just have its presence. So I realized, some of them are similar in sound, and I mean, a synth is a synth because it all just sounds like a big mash of a synth. I mean, you wouldn't listen to that and think that there's 9 different things going on, or however many I had. I think I'm exaggerating, but still. So what I did was basically there's an instrument called a metawood, and it has like this I don't even know, it's just like really sci-fi. It just reminds me like of some space movie, like a B movie from the 70s or something. Then there's late 70s to be exact. There's one that has this sweeping, wave type sound. I figured that's got to be important. And then there's this thing called a sub-aqua. Let me see something. If I do this, it's called time travel. Actually, it's like some of these names are funny because they just match some stuff I'd be thinking of anyway. I mean, the song is like supposed to be, time travel. It just, I don't know, it fits. There's one called Dark Moon, and Dark Shine Productions. Sounds like a winner. There's another one called Sub Aqua. I mean, underwater. Come on now. Where is this other one? Where the heck is that thing? Oh yeah, Transform. That's another good one. So it's like, basically I set the ones that were like these two. They're higher. I mean, most of them are set pretty low in the mix, and the ones that I really wanted to focus on, I brought up. So let's just listen to those. It should be interesting. I'm gonna mute the mix need. So, where we at? Yeah, I need that. I feel like Graham, what's his face, that makes those videos. And then I'm gonna go back to the mix, and let's just. We need to go to any one of these parts right here. Hey, it's called here. That's what it says. Here. That was like one way I was able to identify a certain spot for my cut and paste and stuff. Alright. Here you go. See? There you go. There's your... That's the one. I mean, I don't know. I just love the way that sounds. It like takes me back to my childhood or something. I don't know. Transform. Time travel. Time travel has like this, like these heavenly bells. Can you hear that? And then Sub Aqua. I'm gonna turn this up some. So it's got this bass sound to it, but it sounds like it's underwater, right? So I'm trying to get this, that, this. And this one. Trying to get all of those in my mix, you know? So I use some panning to give these instruments some position. These two I kept centered. And that's basically what I did. I just did some panning. I mean, I could probably go back and do some more and find, you know, another blend, but that's basically the idea of what I did. So basically it's all fader levels and pans, trying to carve out a little lane for, or a little position for each of them. I did EQ oh yeah, I put an EQ on this, the one that's time travel. I think that's time travel, right? Let's see. Yep. Because I wanted those bells. It's just a little one band EQ. Actually went up to 3K hertz. Boosted it. And those bells can be heard a little better in the midst of everything else going on. So that's really all I had to do to get that where I wanted it. I just want to listen to the Metawood one more time. Where is it? Wait, isn't that it? Yep. Isn't it beautiful? Love it, love it, love it. So that was, I mean, those were the ones I decided had to be heard. You know, they had to have their own position in the, and to cut through the rest of them, if nothing else. Even like the gothic voice and the ensemble voice that I have, They kind of blend with the rest of the voices. I don't know. It's I would have liked it for them to kind of be. I'll put it like this: they're in there, like they actually complement the real singing voices, so they kind of took care of themselves. Is basically what I'm trying to say. Because for so long I was doing it based on just these, and you have to like reconsider everything once you put real voices in there, and then which nicely segues into something that happened. Once I did get those set and was listening to it, and I knew this was going to happen when I first did this, but for a while I just wasn't hearing it because I hadn't really got into mixing these synths, and that is I always knew that there was going to be something with the synth and the guitar. Let's go find that one. This one right here. Oh my gosh. That guitar. I figured, battling for frequencies along with the voice of her singing and stuff, and it did get a little lost in there. But what I did with that then is I put an EQ on that, boosted it at 2.45 kHz to give it some articulation. I know you can't read that, but what the heck? I mean, you get it, you can see it. Can't really read it that well, but that's what I did. And I put I actually ended up putting a medium delay on it, which is for another reason, because earlier in the track it plays like this really quiet little accompaniment to her vocals. So I wanted to kind of thicken that up, because I was changing the level of the fader, and it was like it was losing its subtlety, because I wanted to have this nuanced kind of laid back vibe while she's singing, and it's like pushing up the fader made it just kind of loud, which is not what it was going for. So I went with a delay to thicken it up a little bit, and it worked. I think so. I mean, I listened to it like out of the room, like 20, 30 feet out of the room, and was able to hear it. So with that and the and that one band EQ, and that, I mean, that was pretty much it. It's like once I did that, getting back to her voice. I'm sorry. Let me change these. Well, it don't matter, because when I close it, I'm just not gonna save it. Let's see. Where is her lead vocal? Oh, right here. I did a comp thing, which was real cool. Ended up taking her second verse, was cool. First verse, we had done 2 takes of it. So between those 2 takes, I comped together the first verse. So I did.
Baby, come walk with me down the road of your imagination. Talk with me. Let our souls create a conversation.
So where I did with her voice is slight reverb, 40%, ambient, small room. I'm kind of a fan of this reverb, the ambient, small room. That's one that I just like. I'm gonna try not to just be that guy who just uses that on everything and be redundant, but that's the one I like. So I usually go to that one first, and if I like it, I don't really often even try to listen to anything else. 40%. And then I did some compression. As I said, her signal was kind of low. It worked out great. Because it was crazy. Like when I started, let me look at it.
Baby, come walk.
I mean, this is what I was getting. You know what I'm saying? It's like so I was having to push a fader level up real high, and we don't want to do that. Uh-oh. This is a problem I'm always having here. Computer. Yeah, so that's what I was working with. A little compression. Well, not a little. 13 dB gain. 3-to-1 ratio. I slowed down the attack on it. As you saw, usually I think the attack's set for like 10 milliseconds, so I pulled it back to 24. Because this is like a song where, it's more, excuse me. I'm going to yawn on my own video. Well, that's because I've been mixing since. By the way, I started this at 9:50 this morning. And it's now midnight. So I went from 9:50 to about 12:20, almost 12:30, whatever. So that was like two and a half hours before I took a break, went for a walk. I had to drop something off at my daughter's school, had something to eat, and I got back at it at like 2:30 and went until 6:30. So it was another 4 hours. I'm trying to think, what did I do? How would I split that time? I basically did. What did I do? When I came, I definitely did all the vocal stuff in the morning. So I probably was doing I was doing the synth and her voice after in that 4 hour span. And then had to go back, like I said, fool around with the guitar on that verse part. So that was that. And then as I got to listening to it, I'm like, it was blowing my mind that the overheads were sounding so, I don't know, just not good. But this session was the same as You Should Know, as far as tracking the drums. And as I said, there was like a pad on the wrong channel and that sort of thing. So the overheads were weak. So, similar to what I had to do with the voice, put a compressor on it, because some compression. And you know what else is interesting? I'm playing with a left-handed drummer, and I think that's another thing. So it's like the snare, maybe that's what it is. The snare is like in the left overhead once again, just like it is in You Should Know. Even though I do have a snare, I got a snare track though on this one, unlike You Should Know. So I put in EQ, a 1-band EQ, boosted 1000 hertz, pretty wide bandwidth, and then I put compression on it, and man, did that make a difference? Huge difference. I wrote it down at 444. So after that, especially like on the end, I mean, he's just killing the cymbals. It just sounds so dope. And I'm like, man, I need that. It gives it that rock out vibe, rocking out rock type vibe towards the end, vamping out and stuff. Oh yeah, and of course, this happened again. I had made a mix of this before, instrumental mix, without, I hadn't recorded Mariama yet, so I had an instrumental mix that was in this session and forgot. So when I started in the morning, the whole time I was doing all those vocals with the bridge and the guitar solo and the hook, I was mixing that and her leads against the actual mix. That's how I do know I was doing her lead vocals in the morning, or in that first part, because I ended up same thing again, where it was like I realized I was listening to some other music, and I'm like, dang, in the midst of the mix, and that was because I was wiping away the dead air. With the song starts with the kick drum thing, and I'm hearing all this stuff. I'm like, I'm erasing, and then it dawned on me like, man, you listen to that mix, and it still has all that dead air. Well, anyway, I found that out, and again, muted it, and it was just like, oh boy. It was kind of, it's not like starting from scratch, but the first time you hear it, you're like, good grief. Because you're hearing all this space now, because it's not as full, but again, it does seem to kind of work because you're mixing against your own music. I don't know. So it's like everything was carved pretty well because I was carving it against its own full mix, I guess. So the biggest thing that I started having to make adjustments on was her voice, and that probably is when I realized the guitar was like getting lost in the synths, because again, I had spent so much time mixing those synths or tweaking them that the guitar, once I took the full mix that was on another track out of the situation, so anyway, that's pretty much it. It turned out quite nicely, I think. From there, I have been listening to it over and over again, seeing what other things I may need to do to it. But I'm very close. It's like 90% there, if not 95%. So that's pretty much it. Panning, compression, EQing. Oh, you actually use the Airkill EQ. Oh, yeah, the kick. Oh, my gosh, yeah. Yeah, I did end up doing something with that, because I have two kick mics. And a snare. But yeah, I put an Airkill on the snare, or basically boosted the low end. Or is that the kick? Yeah, boosted the low end, took out the highs, or, cut some highs, increased the output, and it just made a huge difference on the kick. Just huge. I didn't even realize how much I wanted the kick to be there until I heard that. It's like, okay, that's the kick that I really wanted to hear. Because, I did this as a MIDI track at first, so the kick, when you have MIDI, your kick is just always thumping and stuff. And then there's some compression there. Nothing too significantly different about that. I think I did do, okay, we just looked at that. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I did. And I just copied and pasted the settings from one track to the other. I find that works quite well too. There we have it. I mean, these are the things we learned in this throughout our time here, and they've proven to be effective. I mean, I know which tools I like to use already